Welcome into Locked On Phillies. Aaron Nola has an ace-like performance as the Phils split with the Braves, plus a preview of a big series with the New York Mets up at Citi Field this weekend for the Phils. All of that on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I am your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phillies baseball for years over on 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy to be with you here as your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. It was a great game for the Philadelphia Phillies and Aaron Nola. Sorry, I had a hair sticking out of my hat that was going to bother me there. That wasn't perfect of a start by me, but man, Aaron Nola was pretty darn perfect in his start last night for the Philadelphia Phillies. He was dominant against the Braves. I can't sing his praises enough with what he did last night. And when Aaron Nola is good, man, he's as good as any pitcher in the sport. The Phils win 4-1 over the Braves. The only run for the Braves coming in the ninth inning. Nola was very close to a complete game shutout. The Phils got their runs from a JT Realmuto home run in the third inning. They got Odubel Herrera, 2 RBI double in the top of the seventh. And then Nick Castellanos hit a ball to center field that was nearly corralled, but bounced out of the center fielder's glove for Atlanta, leading to a RBI for him. It was technically ruled as a double. So Castellanos with a double and scoring Bryce Harper. So Harper scores a run, JT Realmuto scores 2, Odubel Herrera with 2 RBIs. And those 4 runs were all that Aaron Nola would need. The only run coming from the Braves, not even on a hit, a wild pitch by Corey Knebel when he came in, and he relieved Aaron Nola in the ninth inning. But really, it was minimal offense. The Phils only had 6 hits. It was enough, though, because of the Aaron Nola show that we saw. Listen to this line from Aaron Nola in his start against the Atlanta Braves with a series split on the line. And I've told you, Nola is not normally great in series-ending games where you need it to save the series. This one he was. I might have to take that back after this one. Well, I'm not going to take it back because we have obviously more statistics that say the contrary. But anyway, Nola's final line here as a starting pitcher on the night: 8 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, no walks, 10 strikeouts on 109 pitches to bring his ERA down to 3.56. A couple things to take away from Nola on this one. One, he was attacking the strike zone. He threw 75 strikes out of 109 pitches, so a little bit below a 75%. Easy math there, even for me, who's an idiot when it comes to math. A little bit under 75% as far as the balls to strikes ratio. But you see what he did with it. That's the key. I don't really care about the balls to strikes ratio as long as you're getting results, like within reason. You can't be walking the park, but didn't result in any walks. Struck out 10, so he was close enough to the plate that he got guys chasing on stuff that was slightly off. His breaking ball was working. His two-seamer was working. He had everything working for the Philadelphia Phillies on the mound in this one. And something that I thought was interesting that you don't normally see from Nola and you don't normally see from Joe Girardi. The 8th inning ends, and Aaron Nola has, I believe he had something in the low 90s of pitches, or like the 94 to 96 pitches range. Okay. Considering whether you want to take him out or not. He's right around that 100 mark. He's laboring a little bit, but he hasn't given up a run yet. He ended up actually allowing 5 hits, which is surprising for what he did as far as strikeout numbers and everything like that, and not allowing a run until the ninth, which wasn't even one that he gave up. Corey Knebel gave it up, and it was credited to Aaron Nola, but Nola's struggling a little bit. You're in a 4-1 ball game, or at this time it was 4-0. It's like, do you want to go with the closer? Do you want to go to the pen? And Joe Girardi went over to Aaron Nola, said, your day's done. Everyone was high-fiving him, shaking his hand in the dugout. And Nola goes over and says, wait, hang on a second. I want the ninth. And Girardi thought about it for a second and was like, seemed to say, yeah, okay, you can have the ninth. Allowed him to go, turn back around. And I guess I'd assume he was speaking to Caleb Cotham, the pitching coach. He could have been speaking to just some other coach on the bench there, but said he wants the ninth, is what it looked like he said, or something to that effect. And it turned out to be a solid decision. Aaron Nola got the first out in the ninth inning, but then he allowed a double to Matt Olson and really it wasn't a great read by Nick Castellanos on the swing. It was a line drive to right field that Castellanos broke in on, but should have broke back. I don't know that he gets there, even if he reads it perfectly. But Aaron Nola gives up that double. His day's done. A tremendous effort, though. And it was nice to see Joe Girardi listen to his starting pitcher and think, okay, well, the kid's dealing. I told him already his day's done, and then Aaron Nola fought him on that. And you don't often see Aaron Nola, and he wasn't screaming at Joe Girardi by any sense of the imagination. No, any stretch of the imagination, I should say, rather. He wasn't screaming at him like, give me the ninth, because that's just not the guy that Aaron Nola is. But he seemed adamant that he wanted to go back out there, as well he should, because he was dicing, and you don't want to pull a pitcher. Let me talk you through the visual real quick, or the thought process of the other team. So when a starting pitcher is going like Aaron Nola was going last night, you feel literally helpless, especially at that point in the game where basically everyone on the team has seen him 2 or 3 times already. So you look at that, and all you're doing is you're begging the opposing manager, go to the pen, please bring anybody else in. I don't care if it's prime Mariano Rivera that comes out of the pen. Get us someone besides this guy, because we cannot see him right now. Now, there's a difference. There is a mental difference, trust me, between pulling a pitcher in between innings, like Joe Girardi wanted to do with Aaron Nola, and saying, hey, man, you're at the pitch limit, your day's done, as opposed to sending him back out there for the ninth, allowing him to get an out, and then giving up a double. That double does not really build confidence in that spot for the Braves team, because they know as soon as they get a hit, well, they're just going to see the closer. They're going to see another pitcher and everything. So, yeah, you can break through, but it feels like, man, this guy's not afraid of us. The team is not intimidated. Sometimes when you're up 4-0 or in a situation like that, up 5-0, up 6-0, and the pitcher has a chance to go, and you pull that starting pitcher, it can light a little fire in the opposing dugout. Like, man, they didn't have to pull that guy. And they did, and they gave us an opportunity. We didn't really earn the bullpen opportunity here, earn getting to the bullpen, but they're giving it to us anyway, as opposed to when you make them earn it, when you make them hit, and then you're like, man, we did all that just to get a double, and then they go to the pen. It's just smarter baseball. Momentum-wise, it makes more sense to let him out there until he gets hurt, and they handled it correctly. Joe Girardi, Aaron Nola, the rest of the Philadelphia Phillies pitching coaches, I almost said pitching staff, but that's not the right word. The pitching staff is the actual players. Are the pitching coaches the pitching staff, or is just the pitching staff the pitching staff? I think I just broke my brain there. Anyway, everybody handled it right. It was a great game for the Phillies, and it was a great split for the Phillies down there in Atlanta. They really needed that one. The funny thing, this up-and-down series where Joe Girardi choked away a game for the Phillies with his bullpen management in Game 2, might have had an issue in Game 3 that cost them in a game that they weren't really ever in, and they won the first one, so they take that split. But it felt like a roller coaster of a series, and when the dust is all settled, I told you coming into the series they were tied with Atlanta for second place, and they were 8 games back on the Mets. Well, after the series, they're tied with Atlanta for second place, and they're just 7.5 games back on the New York Mets. So they pick up half a game. They stay in second place. They came out in better shape than where they went in. So I don't know. Can I be mad at it? Yeah, I can be annoyed at the missed opportunity, but not necessarily the result. And now we've got a matchup with the New York Mets at Citi Field up in New York. And I've got an interesting thought about this one. Why I don't think it's all that important of a series in the grand scheme of things, like many people are building it to be. We'll preview it, and I'll tell you what I mean on the other side. First, though, let me tell you about Built Bar. We've been asking, and Built delivered. Built granola bars are here. Oh, my goodness. New stuff from Built Bar. You always want to try it because it always tastes great. Built granola bars come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Man, those sound good. You want to try all three flavors? You can get a mixed box too. They do the variety pack at built.com. You can go check it out. They're so different from the bars and the puffs. Granola bars are loaded with that granola that you love in the nice, healthy protein or like short, quick bars that you eat all the time. It's the perfect combination of crunch and chewiness. But just like bars and puffs, they're packed with protein and covered in 100% real chocolate. Just 150 calories, 15 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar. It'll change your world. And they're made with collagen protein, just like everything else. Your body absorbs it more efficiently. It tastes great too. So head to built.com right now and get the Built granola bars. 3 delicious flavors to try. Again, it's chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, white chocolate berry. Don't those sound so good? You don't want to miss out. You've got to get yours today. Go to built.com to get Built granola bars now, and you can enter promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, let's take a look at this series with the New York Mets coming up. And first, we're going to preview it. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I don't think it's as important of a series as a lot of people are making it out to be for the Philadelphia Phillies. So tonight, Zach Eflin faces off against Carlos Carrasco. Cookie goes for the Mets. You can go ahead and see that one at 7:10 p.m. tonight, the first game of that series. Hopefully they get it out. The weather is calling for some heavy storms in the Philadelphia area until about 8 or 9 p.m., I believe, which means, well, New York, about an hour up the road, probably going to be until about 9 or 10. There's a chance they don't get this game in tonight. We'll see what that does. It would be another. If you remember, the Phillies had 2 games rained out against the Mets in that series where that huge comeback happened for New York. I hate bringing that up, but anyway, maybe we'll see another rain out tonight. Then it's Saturday, 7:15 during Labor Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend. You have Zach Wheeler versus Taijuan Walker. And then Sunday, May 29th, 7 p.m. Sunday Night Baseball, I believe it is. Kyle Gibson goes against, well, the Mets haven't listed a starter yet. We'll see what they do with Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer both unavailable. Tyler McGill also having some issues. Who knows who goes for them in that situation? We'll have to see what goes there. But I'm looking at, you know what I do? I look at the lineup of the pitchers, and I see, well, what game does it seem like the Phillies have the advantage on the mound? Tonight, probably not the advantage that you're looking for with Zach Eflin facing off against Carlos Carrasco. Let's just go ahead. I'm going to take a peek at this because they should have it up. The win probability for the Philadelphia Phillies against the New York Mets in tonight's game. I'd imagine the Mets are favored, and they are with a 53.7% chance to win. 46.3% chance then for the Phillies. But the Zach Wheeler-Taijuan Walker matchup definitely favors the Phillies. And having Kyle Gibson go against potentially a bullpen game or a spot starter, that favors the Phillies as well. They have some opportunities in this series to get ahead of the Mets in this series count. They won't be able to catch the Mets on the season series. I believe the Mets have already won that by how much they've dominated the Philadelphia Phillies in the first couple series. But these teams don't play again until August. So the last chance for the Phillies to make up a full game on the Mets just by beating them in this series. And let's see if they take advantage. Some of the leaders right now, you know who the leaders are for the Philadelphia Phillies in batting. Home runs, Bryce Harper, 10 home runs. Average, Bryce Harper, 316. RBIs, Bryce Harper, 31. He leads them in like every single category right now. He's a superhero. He's a superhuman. He's amazing, Bryce Harper, carrying the Phillies. Looking at the Mets, though, Pete Alonso has 11 home runs for them. Noted power hitter, of course, of the New York Mets. Jeff McNeil's batting .321, having an outstanding season at second base for the New York Mets. And Pete Alonso leads the team. Listen to this. You think Bryce Harper's having a good year with 31 RBIs? Pete Alonso has 41. He has 10 more RBIs than Bryce Harper. Now, Harper's batting .316, Alonso only .275. But man, the Polar Bears having a great year for the Mets. That's going to be a tough series. Let me tell you why it's not as important as some people think it is. Real quick, though, I want to thank you, as always, for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. Make your next listen Locked On Now. Check out Locked On Now. There are immediate reactions from across Major League Baseball, and a great one from underneath the Ben Franklin Bridge last night in reaction to Aaron Nola's tremendous start for the Phillies. And let me just tell you, Locked On Now is their immediate reactions to wins, losses, breaking news from our hosts on the Locked On Network. around Major League Baseball, you can find out what's going on. You can hear from the fans of the game. Like us as hosts, we're really fans. Even though we cover the teams and follow the teams day in and day out, we're fans at heart. That's how we all started. And you get our immediate reaction all packaged together in a nice podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, and it's exclusively something we do here at the Locked On Network. So you can't find it from any other media outlet anywhere. Make sure you check that out. So I'm looking at the standings and everything going on in the NL East and the issues that the Phillies may have trying to catch up to the Mets, who are still, again, 7.5 games up on both the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves, who are tied for second in the division. The Mets are 29-17, a .630 winning percentage. They are one of the best teams in baseball. Only the Astros, the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Yankees have more wins. Or the Astros are tied, the Brewers are tied. So there's only a handful of teams that have hit the 29-win mark. You got to imagine if the Phillies don't sweep the Mets, they'll hit the 30-win mark and could very well be just the third team in baseball to do that, trailing only the Yankees and the Dodgers. So, yeah, the Mets are good. And looking at what they're doing without Jacob deGrom, without Max Scherzer, with issues, sparingly injury issues with Tyler Walker and Tyler McGill, and what they're fighting through so far this year is still being dominant. This Mets team is different. I hate to say it, but I don't have a lot of faith in the Phillies to compete with this team, especially once the Mets get healthy again later down the stretch. If the Phillies compete for the division, great. But right now, my focus is already turned to the wild card, and that's why this series isn't super important to me like a lot of people think it is, because a lot of people still have their eye on the NL East and the standings in the NL East. That's not it. I'm focused on the wild card, and while I want them to win, and these games are important, it's not because of the opponent they're playing. It's not because of the Mets. This series is no more important to me than what you're looking at when the Philadelphia Phillies are visited by Gabe Kapler and the San Francisco Giants starting next week after Memorial Day. Like, I don't really care that it is the Mets and the Phillies can make up a full game in division, because ultimately I've looked at these two teams and the Mets just feel different to me. Could the Phillies turn it around? Yes. And I'm not ruling them out of the division. I'm just saying I think it's silly right now to look at them as a competitive team, the New York Mets, especially what you've seen them do head-to-head. And that doesn't mean they won't be at any point this season, but right now they're not. So I'm focused on the wild card and collecting wins. And that's why these are important games, but it's not a more important series than any other one just because it's in division. Because, well, the division seems to be firmly in the grasp of the New York Mets right now. And though there is time to go, I'm not expecting a collapse of this Mets team like we've seen in the past. That's just where I stand. And that's why when I look at this, I'm like, okay, let's go get some games. But if they can't split because it's only 3 games, but if they take 1 of 3, all right. If they take 2 of 3, great. If they take 3 of 3, that's awesome. But I'm not looking at it like if they take 3 of 3, oh, let's go. We're winning the NL East. Like, I've seen what I've seen from both of these teams. I know how competitive both of these teams are right now. And while the Phillies are working some stuff out, they're not on the Mets level right now. So we're focused on the wild card until they prove that they can be on the Mets level. And even then, just set realistic expectations. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years, talking about the Philadelphia Phillies. I would take the wild card every day and twice on Sunday. So that's what I'm zoned in on. And I just don't want to make too big of a deal. If they go out and get like swept by the Mets or lose 2 or 3 to the Mets, I don't want people to be hitting the panic button. No, just collect wins as we go through. Try and get to 500. Try and sustain 500. Try and move slightly over 500. And just put yourself in contention. But that's where I stand on this series. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but that's what I'm feeling as far as the matchup with the Mets is concerned. We have a great game tonight. Eflin, Carrasco going. Hopefully they get it in with the weather. Should be fun. Lineups are coming out later. We'll see what's going on if there's any changes, because it's been a long week of baseball for the Phillies, just coming off 4 straight road games down in Atlanta. Maybe some rest days for some guys. We'll see what ends up going on there. I can see Garrett Stubbs possibly getting the start tonight over JT Realmuto, but we'll see. All of that, though, we'll keep an eye on as we get up to game time for what is going to be an interesting series in New York, even if I don't find it as paramount as some people out there do. That's all I've got on that series preview. But we've got Off the Poll coming up. Since this is Friday, we're doing Friday. Even though it's a holiday weekend, still got Off the Poll as normal. And I have a question about Aaron Nola, who made a great start last night, and what you view him as. That's our Off the Poll question for this week, and I'll jump into it next. First, though, let me tell you about our partners over at Bet Online, because they continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs. The Warriors just punched their ticket to I almost said the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals, and we've got the Boston Celtics looking like they're ready to do so in the East. Well, look at it, get some odds in, maybe some futures on championship odds if you want to take the Heat. Probably get really darn good odds on them right now. They're down to Boston. If you want to take the Mavericks, you're wasting money because they're eliminated. But hey, I'm sure Bet Online would be willing to take your money on that. Check out everything there, as well as MLB scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. Bet Online is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs to esports and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Okay, if you're not familiar with Off the Poll, what it is a poll question to end every week. So the last segment on Friday is always off the poll, like a home run that hits off the foul pole. Get it? But it's a poll question, a little play on words. And I like to get feedback. I'm used to the radio medium where I can hear callers and get tweets and immediately get feedback because everything's live. Well, this isn't live. I'm recording these. And I still want you to have a chance to chime in. So I came up with Off the Poll so you can respond to poll questions and I can talk about your responses on Monday. So the second half of Off the Poll happens on the Monday episodes, but the first half, first I got to ask you the question, right? Figure out exactly what you're answering before we know what you're doing. Well, this week, our Off the Poll question hinges on Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola made an outstanding start last night against the Braves. He has top Cy Young voting in his past. In the 2018 season, he was nearly the NL Cy Young. He has moments where he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball, just last year tying Tom Seaver's record against the Mets for most consecutive strikeouts. And I look at him and I'm like, okay, well, what is this guy? It's hard to determine exactly what he is. And a lot of people have differing opinions on Aaron Nola. So I like to pose this question every once in a while to check the heartbeat, see exactly where he is with the fan base right now. So I want to know, where does Aaron Nola rank for you as far as pitchers in Major League Baseball? We're going to do a couple options. We're going to do top 5. We're going to do top 15. We're going to do top 30. And then we're going to go outside the top 30. Those are the 4 options that I'm going to post out. So I could see exactly how it breaks down. Who thinks he's a top 5 pitcher? Who thinks he's a top 15, top 30? And we'll see how it tiers out for Aaron Nola. It'd be hard-pressed to find someone who says he's a top 5 pitcher in baseball. But hey, maybe what you saw last night, maybe what you saw in 2018, maybe you think he's underrated, maybe his 55 quality starts that he's made so far in his career. So like more than often than not, he's putting out a quality start for you. Maybe that's enough to skew you into that area for Aaron Nola. So I'm very interested to see how everyone responds to this one. I'll tweet it out from @LO_Phillies. It's our Locked On Phillies Twitter account. I'll retweet it from my Twitter account right there @ConnorThomas975. And I'll read through the results on Monday and give you my opinion then. That's all I've got for you today as we gear up for a fun weekend of Phillies-Mets. Hopefully it goes better than the last Phillies-Mets series. I want to thank you as always for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, Sully, he's awesome. He knows baseball inside and out, knows the history of the game. He's got great stories, covers the modern game and what's going on around the league very well. All of that's available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you check out Locked On MLB from my friend Sully. Well, that's all I got. We're going to have episodes Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, despite the holiday, as we go through a interesting series with New York Mets, even though I don't think it's all that pivotal. But we'll have all that squared away for you. So stay locked in all weekend to Locked On Phillies. And if I don't hear from you specifically until then, or don't see you specifically until then, I know busy weekend. We'll see you when I see you again. But I want to wish you a happy Memorial Day weekend, even though Memorial Day, a somber holiday, remembering what people gave up for this country. It is the unofficial start of summer, so that is the lighter side of the holiday. And I hope all of you out there enjoy. I will talk to you all tomorrow.